Hey everybody, this is Robert Patrick. Watch Shaun of the Dead.
Hey, what's going on? It's Shaun of the Dead. I had a long-time subscriber to go ahead and send me a message, and wanted to go over some stuff. And happens to be a teenage boy that wants to know what a teenage, adolescent, pubescent aged boy can do in a zombie apocalypse to defend themselves, whether they be by themselves, or if they happen to be with some strangers. So if you're by yourself, that's probably going to be the most trying time. If there are strangers with you, then that means that you have some type of a network, and they've either accepted you or they've abducted you. If they've abducted you, then you have a whole other set of problems. You have to worry about zombies and these people that are trying to abuse you and whatever, whether it be labor or whatever else that they might want to use a young boy for. So that's your first hurdle, is to get away from that group. Now, if they've accepted you into the group, now you have a support network. Now, what you need to do is show aptitude. Show drive and determination and focus. These are all hard whenever you're at that age, but these are things that you need to exude. Now, first things first, prepping for the zombie apocalypse as a younger person. You need to prove to your parents, guardians, whomever, that you are responsible, trustworthy, and as close to an adult as possible. The reason I say this is because you want to have access to more stuff. Resources are going to be king in a zombie apocalypse. So what you need to do is you need to make sure that they're not going to let you have a later curfew if you never come home on time. If you have poor grades and you're doing bad in school, then they're not going to let you have this extra curricular activity, because you have to spend time with tutors and studying. So buckle down and try to get the things you need to squared away, so that way you can have access to defensive courses. Your parents will pay for a defensive class if they know that it's not for you to fight, but it's for you to protect yourself in the case of a potential child abduction. And that's how you can sell it. That you want to defend yourself against a child abduction or any other problem that may arise that would require you to defend yourself as a responsible party. Now, I know that's going to be difficult, but if you can get any kind of weapons class, I would recommend Eskrima. I'd recommend either like a mixed martial arts studio, or maybe a Filipino fighting, knife fighting, something like that. Any of those things would be well, and they would serve you well. Now, if you can, be a mature and responsible party, then you're going to have a lot more leeway. It's going to give you more options. Most children don't have any kind of access to firearms. There are some exceptions that they grow up with guns in the house. They know where they are. They know where they're kept. They know if they're loaded or not. They know where the ammunition is. They know how to function the firearm, and they know how to shoot. I happen to be one of those kids that I knew where the guns were. I knew where the ammo was, and I knew how to function the firearms at a very young age. Never touched them whenever I wasn't supposed to, but I knew where they were at. So if there was some kind of a threat, I was capable of doing those things, even if I wasn't mentally prepared for those things. At least I was functionally prepared for those things, if that makes sense. So that's one of the things you want to look at. You probably won't have a firearm, but what you do want to have is some sort of knife. Now, you can start off with a broomstick. You can start out going to a Home Depot and getting a rod. They may call it a rod. That's a bigger round or that, half inch, 3/4 of an inch, whatever you want. You can get it. They come in however long, and you can keep it however long, or you can cut also sections off to give yourself some eskrima sticks that you can practice fighting with. Beat on crap in the backyard with them. Buy 2 of them. Keep one for a long one, and then keep the other one, and cut them all, as many as you can, into eskrima-sized sticks, and get as many of those as you can. And that way you can practice just beating on stuff all the time, and get your timing down with them, and get your strikes strong. Get a chance. You start buying harder objects. Start out with something easy like coconuts that are pretty easy to bust, and work your way up. Clean up your mess. That way, again, you have that responsibility. So that's one of the things you want to do. Practice. Now, knives. Your parents may not let you have a knife if they feel you are hot-headed or irresponsible and always flying off the handle. But if you're always calm most of the time and everything is kind of kosher in the house, then they may not be quite so intimidated with you having a knife in your room, that you have access to. That if you want to go out back and hang in the backyard, in your own personal private time after you've finished your homework, and you have a good enough knife that you can throw, and you have a throwing board, then great, you can practice throwing. If it's not a throwing capable knife, then you can practice carving things into sharp points. You can practice, just the general manipulation of a knife. But you're going to use it for a myriad of tasks, not just combat. You can get something cheap like this, something that will cost you $30 or less. This is an old timer. The Schrade company makes these knives. This happens to be an older version. As you can see, it says old timer on the handle, but the blade says Schrade. So, it is a good knife. It's got a nice, good rubber handle. Not easy to slip. It's solid. It's got a good enough edge to it. It's easy to sharpen. You can even use this back edge here for fire striking with a striker, so you don't have to worry about messing up with your blade. Good all-around knife, and it's solid enough that you can do stuff with it. Also, you can duct tape it to the end of your pole. Now you have a spear. Back in medieval combat days, where they used to do with spears, horsemen. They put their foot on, hold the spear, horse would come, run into the spear, and they would be pushing the spear into the ground, and you'd just be a guide holding it in place. So there's that. Now, this is less intimidating and still greatly functional and a good enough, durable enough, functional enough knife that you can use to defend yourself, because they may not let you have something that's a step up, around the $60 range or so, $60 to $70. One with a tech lock for your sheath. You can put it on your belt or whatever. It's good, solid. And this is solid. So, you can easily utilize it to pull and use. And this is the Becker BK2 made by K-Bar. It's a durable knife. It's heavy. It's inch thick. You can pry doors open with this, because you're going to need something that's a strong tool. If you can get something like this will do you very, very well, because it's big enough for you to do stuff with. Might be slightly uncomfortable, slightly large for you, But it's something you can definitely grow into, and it's definitely something you can utilize to do more with as time goes by. And it's something that's got a nice, good pummel to it. You can use that to bash into stuff. I'll give you an example. If you watch The Walking Dead, spoiler alert, in advance, this is after the fall of the prison. So you have Carl, who gets pissed at his dad, says, "I can do it without you." Puts on his big boy britches and goes out, thinks he's going to go out there and rule the world, goes up to a shut and locked door, and what happens? Runs up against it, throws his body against it, and falls his butt on the ground. Where a grown man can kick that door open, a young small guy can't. Just don't have the mass, don't have the muscle development yet. Give yourself time, you'll have it. Don't be in a hurry. It's his immaturity and lack of experience that makes him, a horrible, combatant in those situations. Yay, he found food. Oops, he made some mistakes. Ultimately, I would have been more upset because he made the mistakes and didn't wait than if by him coming back with food. But you do have to weigh your options. And if he wasn't making a bunch of noise, zombies wouldn't come around to begin with. There's that aspect to it. Now, you are small. Well, I'm a bigger guy. I can easily kick a door open. That's not a problem for me. I can't hide in a duct, like an air duct or a heating duct, or something small. I can't tuck away into that. Where you can probably tuck into something small enough, if there's an adult-sized zombie coming, you probably don't need a whole lot of, room to move into a place that's got relatively good protection. And that's a huge bonus. So, getting away from nefarious people, that's a completely different situation. That's just going to take a little bit of dumb luck and a little bit of timing and the willingness to just do it. If you're by yourself, which is the probable scenario and the preferable one, until you can observe a group for long enough to know that they're child-friendly, then you need to work on those skills. Ask if you can join the Boy Scouts. Ask if you could, go on wilderness adventures where you go on survival trips in the summertime. If you ain't got a job to go to and you have some summers off, and your parents are like, "Oh yeah, sure, I'll pay for you to go to a summer trip, to go to a survivalist, thing where you're going to be in the bush with some guy for, a couple of weeks, or whatever, and he's going to have a whole class out there." Sure. Now you can learn what you can and can't eat, learn how to hunt, trap, use your knife appropriately, how to pack your bag, how to carry the weight you need to carry, the stuff you need. By then you'll start to acquire the gear you require. So those are all things is to try to acquire the appropriate stuff. But again, you're going to have to show yourself responsible so that way your parents and guardians will feel comfortable with who you are to go ahead and give you those things. So again, this is Shaun of the Dead. I hope this was helpful for all you young folk out there that are trying to prepare for the worst case scenario. Please give it a thumbs up. Please, as always, subscribe. And again, remember, if you have questions, just like he did, feel free. I am more than willing, and if I am at all able, I will answer your questions. Thank you.